Same old phone?
Nah, this is my mic check and mix all
The
in.
gang's all here.
I'm putting every MLB team into a March Madness style tournament, and we're gonna find out who the true champion of baseball is. I've created a bracket with the American and the National League, and all seedings were based on last year's results, and we're starting in the American League with the 8 seed Twins and the 9 seed Red Sox. There's only 15 teams on each side, so the 1 seed in each league gets a first round bye, but the Red Sox start us off strong with a home run. Trevor Story gives Boston the early lead, but also Garrett Crochet is locking in. He has 6 strikeouts in 3 innings, and Tristan Casas goes deep to extend the lead. As I was hopeful this would be a close game, but it is not looking like it. Even in front of a home crowd, Lopez is getting shelled so far against this offense, and Boston can make it 4-0, which is exactly what they do with a sac fly. This game is over unless they can break through Garrett Crochet, as they do score 1 run, but once again, it's the same story even against the bullpen, as Trevor Story is having a day. I think Boston could be a dark horse in this whole tournament, but it's not over, as Royce Lewis hit a huge bomb, and we suddenly have a 2-run game in the 8th inning, although it's gonna take the 9th. What an incredible matchup to start out with, as Boston is trying to score an insurance run, but they can't. So Minnesota is gonna get the chance to pull off this comeback, as this grounder goes to the first baseman, the flip to the pitcher, who wins the race. This crowd is dead silent as Buxton strikes out, so Hendricks is 1 out away from the save, but he's facing Matt Wallner, who mashes righties. Here's a line out to center field. It is caught, and the Red Sox move on. They are locked in to face the 1 seed Yankees in the next round, but now we're going to the National League to see the 8 seed Cubs take on the 9 seed Cardinals. I believe the Cubs could be sneaky good in this tournament with a good ace in Shota Imanaga alongside the addition of Kyle Tucker, but so far not much is happening, at least until this home run. St. Louis has the lead, at least for now, but there's an RBI double, and they have a chance to rally even more, but there is a double play. The tie continues in the 5th inning, but Chicago is knocking on the door, and all they need is a sac fly, but what a catch in left field. The runner still scores, but you have to appreciate the effort, although we're gonna forget about it pretty quick, as Suzuki delivers a 2-run shot and buries the Cardinals. There was not going to be an upset in this game, but their days may be numbered as they're taking on the Dodgers in the next round. We are moving down the bracket to the 5 and 12 seeds, and this could be the part of the video that we see some crazy upsets. The Blue Jays are taking on the Orioles, and Vlad Jr. is going to drive in the first run of the game, and even though Baltimore's offense is very good, they lack a bona fide ace. Their weakness is on display early on, and Alejandro Kirk is going to blow this game wide open with a deep drive to right center field, and that is gone. That's a 4-0 start for the 12 seed, and right now Baltimore is really struggling to find any momentum at all. They cannot allow any more runs if they want to stay in the tournament the rest of the way, but there are 2 aboard for Alejandro Kirk, who already has a home run, and he loads the bases. This at bat from Jimenez could decide the game, but he is already facing an 0-2 count and bloops this one into shallow center field as Mullins rushes in to make the play. That is a big missed opportunity for the Jays, but even though I complimented their offense, they only have 1 hit so far, as Gausman has been incredible. It's gonna come down to the 9th inning, but Bichette puts the game on ice, and we have our first big upset of the video as the Blue Jays dominated them 6-0. Anything can happen in March Madness, but early on in our next game, the Brewers are locked in as they do not want to suffer the same fate as Baltimore. They start off strong with 3 runs off of Paul Skeens in the first inning, so that will give their ace Freddie Peralta a very good cushion as he is dealing, and that's surprising to me considering his overall is 10 points lower than Skeens, who just gave up another run. Milwaukee's offense has woken up again, and just like the Orioles, the Pirates get shut out. 4 games in, we have already seen a few surprises, but there may be room for more as the 4 seed Royals take on the 13 seed Athletics. These teams are honestly not as far apart as it seems, and some of the power hitters that Oakland has could put them in position for an upset, but Kansas City goes up by 2. This game is a great example of why I suck at March Madness, because whenever I pick upsets, they never work out, as Kansas City has a commanding lead, especially after 2 more home runs. On top of that, it has been a terrible day for Oakland's offense, and amazingly, that is the 3rd shutout we've seen in a row. And I'm curious if that streak continues in our next game, as there's a leadoff home run. That is a great start for CJ Abrams against the team that drafted him, but it may not matter as here comes the Padres offense loading the bases. There is 1 away for Jake Cronenworth, who launches this into left center field, and while it stays in the yard, it will score a run, as the Padres are showing they do not want to go on upset alert, and Xander Bogaerts launches a 3-run nuke. This is not going to be an easy deficit for the Nationals to overcome, overcome, but CJ Abrams is cracked, and I was about to simulate to the end of the game, but the Nats were not ready for it to be over. Once again, though, the Padres are looking for a fast answer, as they have loaded bases with 2 away, but Cronenworth is gonna fly out deep to left field. That is a very frustrating missed opportunity, but in the very next inning, they do it again. They had loaded bases in 2 straight innings, but scored 0 runs, and the Nats pitching has been very stressful to say the least. They have loaded the bases 3 innings in a row, and this sac fly is all they have to show for it, but Washington's offense has fallen asleep, so it looks like San Diego's gonna escape with a narrow victory, but huge shout out to CJ Abrams, who hit 2 bombs and was the only reason this was close. With that, we are halfway through the first round of games, but now we have a matchup between 2 Texas division rivals as the Astros strike first. That was new addition Isaac Paredes, who does it again in the 3rd inning. So the Rangers are trailing by 2 runs, and Langford hits a grounder, but he has a lot of speed and beats it out. That saves the inning, and now the bases are loaded, as Adolis Garcia can get them on the board, but he breaks his bat instead. It's still only a 2-run game, but they're running out of time to get something going, and the Astros score 4 in the 6th, and after that, the Rangers rightfully gave up. That might have been the most boring game of the video so far, but this one's off to a very good start, as the Reds score 2 runs and the Braves answer. Even as a 6th seed, I think Atlanta has the talent to win this entire thing just because of their offense, as they just scored another run on the sac fly, and on the very next pitch, Matt Olson goes yard. They have scored a run in every inning, as it is 6-2, and I doubt they're done as Ozzy Albies does it again. At first, I thought this would be a game, as the Reds offense started out red hot, but they have been overwhelmed by this explosive offense and the defending Cy Young winner. Unfortunately, having the cover athlete on their side is not going to be enough to win them this game, but they are still fighting, so it is not over yet, but it's still a 5-run game, and they strand a runner on second, and if Atlanta scores one more time, it is over, and it is. I don't know if I can call them a dark horse as a 6-seed team, but that was insane, so I truly believe they can win the whole thing. We have not seen a shutout in several games, so I think we're due for one pretty soon, but I would be shocked if the 14-seed Angels beat the 3-seed Tigers. Detroit has Tariq Skubal on the mound, but so far he has given up 2 singles, so this may be the best chance the Angels have to score all day, and they do exactly that with another one. This would be right on par with the Blue Jays beating the Orioles, but the Tigers already have a chance to tie it, and that is embarrassing. Los Angeles will extend their lead in the 3rd inning with a Mike Trout dinger, but they can do even more damage in the 5th inning as the bases are loaded, and that's a sac fly. Detroit is officially in trouble, but their offense might be finally waking up as they are down by 3 with the bases loaded, and Torres pulls it foul. For a split second, I thought he was going to score all those runs, but hang on 1 second, this is going deep into right center field, and get out the rye bread and the mustard, grandma, it is grand salami time. In just 1 swing, the Tigers have taken the lead in the 6th inning, so it's clear this is going to come down to the wire as the Angels strand 2 runners. I still can't believe they broke through Skubal, but here's a 2-run bomb from Rogers, so despite going down 3-0 early on, they rally back to win the game. As an average adult man, there are very few things I enjoy more than March Madness and gambling, but I have a big problem. I live in Washington State, where many forms of sports trading aren't legal, but I found a great solution for that with Kalshi.com. They are today's sponsor and the only place you can trade on March Madness in all 50 states, along with other real-world events, whether it's an election, the price of Bitcoin, or even if Elon Musk is going to buy a sports team. You can trade on pretty much anything, but using March Madness as an example, my favorite team this year is Auburn, and I'm betting on them until the end. According to Kalshi, they have about a 50% chance to make the semis, which would double my money, as a 50-cent trade essentially means you're buying trades at 50 cents a piece, and if you win, they turn into a whole dollar. Kalshi has over 1 million users in all 50 states, and have facilitated over $1 billion in trades, and they're your best option for March Madness. Put your money where your mouth is and sign up using the link in my description, where the first 500 traders that trade over 100 contracts will receive a $10 credit. That was one of the best games yet, but I'm not nearly as optimistic for this one between the Rockies and the Phillies, although so far neither side is doing much of anything. The most shocking thing about this is Philadelphia has not gotten on base yet, and out of all the players I could choose to pitch a perfect game in this video, I think German Marquez is near the bottom of my list. He is 72 overall, giving a playoff team major problems, but of course the Rockies offense has to capitalize for it to be worth it, and this could be their chance to get on the board as Estrada goes the other way with this one. Watching it drift down the line, it is foul. That nearly changed everything, but of course it is still the Rockies offense, and that has been a huge issue for them as the perfect game has been broken up. That is a very slight sigh of relief, but we are still tied at 0 apiece, but there's no way Tolia goes deep. The stalemate has finally been broken, and Philadelphia might be on their way to doing the most Philadelphia thing ever as Schwarber breaks his bat, and that is a double play. Trey Turner is their very last chance, but he is already facing a rough situation as that grounder goes straight to Tovar, who makes the play. And while the Angels couldn't get their upset, this one is even more insane. We've officially put the madness in March Madness, and we are not even through round number 1 yet, as the 7-seed Seattle Mariners are now taking on the 10-seed Tampa Bay Rays. The Mariners offense is off to a strong start, but JP Crawford leaves 3 runners on base, and that is exactly why many fans call them the Seattle Stranders. It's time for Tampa's offense to wake up, as they're going to score 1 run, but that was a crazy throw. They avoid a double play, and on the very next pitch, Brandon Lowe gives them the lead. So one bad throw has made all the difference for Seattle, as they are struggling to get anything going. With 2 on, the Rays can call game, but Logan Gilbert gets out of the bind, and in the next inning, Seattle's offense is in the same situation, but Luke Raley ties the game back up. These 2 teams are very close in seed, and that's showing as this is coming down to the wire. And right now, it is very difficult to know who has the advantage, but Luke Raley is coming up clutch once again, hitting a dinger into left field. Just like CJ Abrams, he is stepping it up against his former team, as his 4 RBIs win Seattle the game, and this one was an absolute banger. The Diamondbacks versus the Giants is another very interesting game on paper, as they both have pretty good pitchers in Logan Webb and Corbin Burns, and overall, they have kept this game pretty uneventful. The Giants signed Willy Adames this offseason, and finally there's some action, as San Francisco gets on the board first, but Arizona's not about to give them an easy upset. A big double, followed by a 2-run single, ties the game, and now it feels like their offense has all the momentum as they score another run. It is great to see more competitive games after a few stinkers, and now I'm very interested in seeing what the Giants are going to do down 1. There are 2 outs for Matt Chapman, who facing a 2-2 count, launches this one nearly dead center. The G-men have once again taken the lead as Adames scores from first, and they are cooking as Wade also goes yard. Arizona could be facing an upset, as that's a strikeout, so they need to lock in, and a Naylor double helps, but now they need to score him, and Suarez is gonna do exactly that with this dribbler up the middle. That at least makes it close in the 9th, but they are already facing 2 outs. Fortunately for them, Carroll drew a walk, so their best hitter gets the last AB, but that was embarrassing, and the Giants pull off the upset. I am very curious how the number of upsets compares to real March Madness, but it's fair to say that title belongs to us if the White Sox beat the Guardians. Cleveland may not have played their best offense, but they still won the game, so we are moving on to our final matchup of round 1, and with Juan Soto on their side, this should be a breeze. I feel really bad for Marlins and White Sox fans because they really never had a chance in this tournament, but while they don't get the spotlight in this video, I'm definitely going to rebuild them this year, so check that out. Round 1 was full of surprises, but it is officially time to move forward to round 2, and after a first round bye, we're fine lacking after a first round bye, but they do get 2 on board, so this one is certainly not over as Cody Bellinger delivers an RBI, and there's a great chance for New York to continue its rally, and right on cue, Giancarlo Stanton, that's a no-doubter. A 4-run 6th inning gives them their first lead, so the Red Sox are down to their final 3 outs as their top 3 hitters are their last chance. All it takes is one bad pitch to send this to extras, but there's another out, and while their offense started strong, it fell off as the game went on, and New York took advantage. New York is the first team to make it into the Sweet 16, and the Dodgers are looking to follow as they're going up against the Cubs, and we've already seen 2 home runs. They're showing exactly why they're the 1 seed, but Chicago has a real chance to rally with 2 aboard, and this sac fly ties it up. We can not count out the Cubs, who I said were one of my dark horse teams, but after slowing down, the Dodgers load the bases, and Betts will get the chance to give them back the lead as he grounds into a double play, but it still scores. They have taken their momentum right back, and they now have a chance to extend their lead, and Will Smith belts the first pitch he sees out of the park. Just like that, it's a 4-run game, and despite my high hopes for the Cubs, this was too much to overcome, as no surprise, both 1 seeds are moving on. The Toronto Blue Jays were the biggest surprise of the first round, and I want to see if their magic run can continue, but they're already down 1 run. Thankfully though, they get out of the inning, and now have 2 on, so they have a chance to rally and tie this game, as there's an RBI from Bo Bichette. Seeing a 12-seed team make the Elite 8 would be insane, as this one goes into left center field, but gets run down, so we were still tied up at 1 apiece, but the bases are loaded. The Royals offense has been quiet ever since scoring a run in the first inning, but here is a double play, so the Blue Jays have a great chance to get something going, and this is their chance. They have runners at the corners with 1 away, and just like in last game, Alejandro Kirk comes up huge with an RBI double. Beating 2 playoff teams in back-to-back weeks would be diabolical work, as they now have a 3-run lead, and it's gonna take a lot for Kansas City to get back in it. There's no way. This might be the best game of the entire video, and I would not be surprised if we go to extra extra innings. This would be the first game that goes over 9 innings as Toronto doesn't score, but recently the Royals have swung hot bats as there's 1 run, so we may not be going to extra innings after all as Bobby Witt Jr. ices it. Unfortunately for the Blue Jays, their Cinderella magic has run out, and we're getting what is hopefully a very different game between the Padres and the Brewers. Milwaukee got off to a fast start with a 3-run bomb, but do not count out San Diego as they nearly tie it up, but unfortunately they could not wave in the tying run and end the inning down 1. That is very good momentum regardless though, but Michael King loads the bases, so they have another chance to get more runs on the board, but that is a wasted opportunity. This is a very good offense, so they might have missed their chance as San Diego ties up the game, but neither side can score. It is still even in the 9th, and after nearly 20 games, we are going to extras. Our first matchup between 2 playoff teams is definitely not disappointing, but as the higher seeded home team, the Padres can walk it off. Jackson Merrill nearly ends it. That was just a few inches away, but he slaps his next pitch into the shallow outfield. Tatis is coming home, rounding third, and the throw will not be on time. The Padres survive another thriller, but I think our next game could be even more exciting as the Astros are taking on the Tigers. If you remember, in round 1, Tariq Skubal kinda got embarrassed by the Angels, and he's already given up a run, and there are still runners at the corners with just 1 away as this will be a sac fly. He really needs to get it together if the Tigers even want a chance, but thankfully there's a run, so it's only a 1-run game, and Jake Rogers delivers with a dinger. It looks like that is exactly what Skubal needed to lock back in, as the Astros offense has gone cold. It will all come down to the 9th inning, but overall, while this game started out very exciting, the Tigers quickly pulled away just as they did against the Angels, so we are very close to locking in our Elite 8, but all I have to say is good luck to the Rockies. Atlanta's offense was terrifying in the first round, and it took them a while to warm up, but they rally with 3 doubles, and while the Rockies held in there, they used up all their magic against Philadelphia. There are just 2 matchups left in our Sweet 16, and I truly believe the 7-seed Mariners are about to upset the 2-seed Cleveland Guardians. At least in this game, I don't think Cleveland is that great, and they're definitely not as talented as their number 2 seed suggests as Seattle loads the bases and is trying to score on a sac fly as the throw comes in time. They have stranded 3 runners on base, and here comes Cleveland, tying the game, but Seattle's trying to load the bases again, and they do exactly that. It would be hilarious if they choked again, but Mitch Haniger keeps this fair down the first base line to score 2 runs, so now the pressure is right back on the Guardians as Seattle scores again, and it will not be easy to come back from a 3-run deficit, but add 3 more. That is a decisive upset victory for the Mariners, who knock off the number 2 seed Guardians. Just like Cleveland, the Mets are beatable as there's a cheek shot, and that loads up the bases, but the Giants cannot capitalize. They at least take the lead, but it's still 1-0, so they're very lucky Logan Webb is pitching a gem, but Juan Soto delivers. The Giants have gotten on base today way more than the Mets, but those stranded runs could cost them, especially because it feels like New York has the momentum. There are 2 aboard with 1 away for the Mets, and here's a slow grounder to second. He needs the double play, the flip, and the throw is not in time. That means there's runners at the corners, but here's a strikeout, so Logan Webb gets out of a jam, but this offense is struggling. They have not done anything in several innings, and we're going to extras, where the Giants can't even score a ghost runner. What are they swinging at? This all pitching, no offense approach is making me miss the Mariners, as I'm literally begging for someone to score, and finally the Giants deliver with an RBI single from Willy Adames. I still remember that I got grilled for calling him Willie Adams in my first ever video, and over 2 years later, we are still out here getting pronunciations wrong. Is this gonna be a dinger? It will not, but it still ties the game. I'm gonna simulate this game play by play and just kind of see what happens, as the Giants have 2 guys on, but pop up, but now New York has runners at the corners, and this game's finally over. This was not pretty at all, but New York still survives, so we are done with round 2 and moving on to the Elite 8. We are starting off with an exciting matchup between the But now New York has runners at the corners, and this game's finally over. This was not pretty at all, but New York still survives, so we are done with round 2 and moving on to the Elite 8. We are starting off with an exciting matchup between the 1-seed Yankees and the 4-seed Royals, but we're still scoreless even though both teams have gotten on base. There have been so many runners in scoring position, but bend don't break. There's been a combined 15 hits for 0 runs, so we're still scoreless, and it's gonna stay that way going into the 9th inning. We are back in extras, and what a pitch from Williams, who gives the offense a walk-off chance, but they suck. I definitely recommend grabbing popcorn because I don't think this one's gonna end anytime soon, as I'm simulating, and sure enough, the side is retired. We may be watching one of the strangest games of baseball I've ever seen, as that was almost an RBI, but Bobby Witt Jr.'s cracked, and it looks like we have another scoreless inning. I should honestly just sim to the end. We have seen all we needed. I'm leaving this up to the sim gods as the Royals pull ahead, and New York's in trouble, down to their last out, but there's no way. Paul Goldschmidt walk-off home run. Of course that's how this one's gonna end, as it wouldn't have ended any other way. Dinosaur-aged Paul Goldschmidt goes deep to center field. Wow. The 1-seed Yankees survive with the signature moment of this video, and while I'm very curious to see this Padres-Dodgers game, I don't think it's gonna be nearly as exciting. Los Angeles has already taken the lead, and there's a 3-run bomb, and with Ohtani on the mound, it is unlikely the Padres come back, as there's a bunch more runs from the Dodgers, who win the game 11-1 and move on to the Final Four. Both number 1 seeds are locked into the semifinals of this tournament, but now it's time to decide their opponents, as the Mariners have looked very impressive so far, and there is a 3-run bomb against Skubal. He's given up early runs in every game he's played so far, but always seems to recover, so it is all up to their offense to rally back, and that is not good for their chances. I like the Mariners, but I am not gonna rig a March Madness tournament in a video game, so if you're mad at me for anything, I'm sorry your team lost, and what a catch. That outstanding play prevented a run, but it's not gonna matter as Seattle scores anyway, so if Detroit's gonna catch up, they need a run per inning. Unfortunately though, Seattle's bullpen shut them down, and there's a 2-run nuke, so thanks to me hacking the game like an absolute menace, the Mariners are moving on to the Final Four. That is a huge upset for a 7-seed team, as we're moving on to the final matchup, and so far this has been a very tight game, but the Mets have scored on 2 sac flies. It is do or die for Atlanta in the 7th inning, as Albies smokes this to get 2 aboard, and they could be 1 swing away from getting on the board, which this grounder is gonna accomplish. That's not the greatest result ever, but it's still better than nothing, as Kelenic flies out, and it's only a 1-run game with 2 innings to go. Just like Seattle, they're looking for an upset against a much higher seeded opponent in the Mets, and while this inning got off to a very good start, Matt Olson is faced with a full count where he clutches up, driving in both runs. Atlanta takes the lead in the top of the 8th, and they've been my dark horse since the beginning, as there's another run. The Mets could really use some of last year's playoff magic right now, but this could be over. Albies behind the back, the throw to first, safe. New York lives another play, but that was a huge whiff, and Atlanta is moving on to the Final Four. We've got some real diversity in our bracket with 2 1 seeds, a 6 and a 7, but these underdog teams are facing their biggest challenges, and that's a huge start for New York. They nearly lost that crazy game to Kansas City, so now they are rightfully locked in, as they have a 2-run lead in the 2nd inning that they cannot grow on. The Mariners beat the 2-seed Guardians and the 3-seed Tigers to get here, so they are not strangers to the bright lights, but Aaron Judge buries them. It has been a fun run for Seattle, but it looks like it's coming to an end after another Judge homer, as I apparently did a terrible job of rigging the tournament. We have locked our first team into the finals, and for any fans of an underdog, the Braves are your last chance to get one, but they are not off to a good start, as it seems the Dodgers offense is simply too much. They have a massive lead in the 8th inning, and Atlanta's offense is not looking great, so in a very boring twist, we're gonna get a World Series rematch. If the movie Moneyball taught me anything, it's that underdogs don't always win, and at least in the case of the Yankees and the Dodgers, you can buy success. New York is off to a good start, but here come the Dodgers, and while this final round is not that interesting, the Yankees getting revenge would at least be the silver lining. The tying run is on second base, but Andy Pages says forget about it. He launches the go-ahead home run. That was a 4-run inning for the Dodgers, and make that 6, and that's crazy because the Yankees had a 3-0 lead like a second ago. They at least score a run in the 7th to make it a bit closer, but still need 2 more, and if they want to catch up, they cannot allow another run here, and they don't. This game is an absolute nail-biter as Goldschmidt goes deep, and you can't deny this is an absolute thriller. It is only a 1-run game in the bottom of the 8th inning, and it seems New York has all the momentum in the 9th inning. However, that flyout, followed by this strikeout, definitely hurt, as they're down to their final out. You could be witnessing the final at-bat of March Madness in MLB, as this is hit well, but not well enough, so the Dodgers survive and win the whole tournament. If you enjoyed this video, click right here, because you might also like those ones too.
Reimagine game day with TCL and Best Buy, official sponsors of the NFL.
Right there.